go through and explain a little bit of Python. Go through the process that's in the YouTube video about installing Python, then install, go through and add Anaconda. Once you have Anaconda, open up Jupyter. And what I usually do when I want to open up Jupyter, I'll go down to the search. And I'll just type in Jupyter, click on open, and it'll go through a few screens, and then it will open it up, at least in my Google Chrome. Might do something a little bit different, but it'll do something at least fairly similar to what you have. This is what I see initially. What I might want, you may want to make sure that you have the Python 3 kernel in there. So I think that's in that YouTube video though. So when I'm here, what it might be, I've got all these folders that it gives me, but if you go to a new, so you create a new folder in here. And once you have your new folder, right link to the folder, and then you can drop the files in easier. So I create inside where I have my new JN folder. I can, or Jupyter folder, whatever. I've got inside there, I created something called chapter 4. I dropped a bunch of files in here, including the Chinook database, which I posted on Canvas. I think there's other places where you can download that same database too. Anyway, so I'm here. I go to this folder, there's chapter 4. While I'm in here, I click on File, New, Notebook. And this notebook will come up. Maybe I might need to, while I'm doing this, I might want to install some packages. If there's a package that I need, for example, if I needed NumPy, I would pipe it in, pipe install NumPy or whatever the package you need to install. And then right up here, I would click on run this cell, or there's that shortcut, Shift Enter. And if it runs okay, it goes on to the next cell. It gets a new cell for you. When you're putting stuff in here, okay, this one's already satisfied. And so if you want to, you can type in within these cells, you can type in code. If you want to put some sort of a heading, like for example, this is what I will, whatever it is, come up here where it says code, drop that down to markdown. And when I run that, it gives it as a heading. And there's other ways you can format it, but that's I guess it should be pretty straightforward. It's like what I did is I created this class Chinook blank, and I've got these questions on here that I want to put in there that I'm trying to answer. And so that's I guess one way to look at it. So I got these cells in here that have places where I can write this SQL code. Okay, great. So now that we have that, let's go through this. And I think I need to open up the schema that can help us a little bit as we plan this out. So what I put in here, there's some code you need to run in order to be able to run SQL code against the Chinook database. And so I've got this first one, import pandas. That's a package that Python needs to be able to run, and also SQLite 3. And that lets us run this. Okay, so now that I have that in there, or you can type it into yours. You'll want to run that. So I'm going to hit run. And then this next thing, because so I'm running class Chinook blank, which is in the same folder as a Chinook database. It's important to do that. So make sure you open up you want to open up your notebook within the same folder as you have your database. I'll run to load _x SQL, and then SQL, which is this reference right here, SQLite, then that's a reference to where the database is. So when I run this, it's now connected to the database. And I will be able to, I'll be able to run SQL statements with the Chinook database. So I'm gonna open up this here. It has some references to the schema. Okay, this first one says display milliseconds from the track table sorted by length in top 10. So if I look at the track table, track is right here. Milliseconds is right there. Milliseconds, that's a field that I want. And I might want track ID. Let's see. Milliseconds from the track. Okay, maybe I want to add some more information. Now, using this SQLite, if you have some sort of an accent, it doesn't read those very well. And so with some variables, it might get choked up. And if I went, for example, select star from track, if I just run that, it's going to have a problem. Samba de uma nota, and then there's something in there. There's a character it can't read very well. That's in the column name. And so instead of using the star means select every single variable, I'm just going to add track ID, composer, milliseconds, net price, whatever variables. Those are some of the variables. I can try these. I'll see if that runs okay. Oh, still didn't like Tom Jopin, Newton. But what we could do, we want to get sorted by length for the top 10. And so I'm going to order by milliseconds. I want the top 10, we make that descending. And we'll limit 10. Let's see if the top 10 have a name in there. Okay, it looks like it was okay. I wonder if I can put name in there. Okay, it looks like that worked. And so I've got the top 10 sorted down here. And so remember with SQL, you select is an important, you need that, you need from. In between select and from, you put all of the variables you want to have with commas between them, or if you want everything, you put a star. I wonder with the top 10, maybe I can do all the variables. Because it's fun, it's good to play around with this, figure out what works, what doesn't. I can put every variable in there. Order by millisecond descending, that means it's the length, top 10, that means, or the longest ones, whatever. And limit 10 means I'm only going to show 10 records. Okay, let's go to this next cell. And you'll notice I have this percent SQL. Anything after that within the cell, because we're using the SQLite 3, can be used for the means that you can write some code for it. So this next one, display the customer ID, total amount customers have spent that's over $45. This is a little bit more code. So I'm going to type in, where did they spend? Let's see. We look at this thing right here. Quantity, so invoice, that's where they would spend something. And so variable we might want is customer ID. We want total in there. That's probably good. Use those two. Select customer ID. And then if we want to have the sum of the total, we'll use mathematical operation. Total. Then we can rename the column using the as statement as total spent. And then from invoice is the name of the table. And then if you want to aggregate everything by something specifically, you group by something in here. You can use single quotes or double quotes with as well. Okay. Group by customer ID having some total greater than 45. So if we were, if you're limiting the number of records by some specific if it value where it's equal to, you would say where, like for example, if I'm looking at one where the name equals through a looking glass, or where I'm looking at the table just above here, where the name equals Battlestar Galactica. I could do a where statement. If I'm doing some mathematical operation, instead of using a where statement, I want to use a have statement. And so I'm doing this where customer ID having a sum of total of greater than 45. So the customer ID has all of their spending is over $45. And we can run this, see how it works. And maybe we want to order it. Order by total. So we'll go from the one they spent the most to the least. And now you notice I put this with the space in here, the column total spent, it looks better. If I had done something like this, then I don't need those quotes because there's no space in there. And it'll run just fine. And maybe what I could do is, let's see, see what happens if I replace these. Yeah, it ran just fine there. And so if I make that a variable, then I can do that. And that makes it easier to program the way that makes most sense to you. Okay, this next one, display the artist ID for Queen. So the artist ID going to be, looks like it'll be in the artist table, which has two columns, artist ID and name. So that looks like it's going to be pretty simple. Select artist ID from artist where name equals, use single or double quote, Queen. Let's see. Oh. I can't make this all the same row, but I'm just going to put the second row. There you see. And looks like artist ID. I mean, I could do this too. As and see. Oh, okay. Well, anyways, so there's that one. This next one. Question 4, display track ID, composer length, and price for the 10 shortest songs. So where can we get songs from? Length. Track has milliseconds. Okay. Track ID, see how those are labeled. Composer, that makes it easier. Composer. The common creates those milliseconds. Let's turn it to seconds as well. Milliseconds divided by back. Let's order by milliseconds. So we just do, and we want the 10 shortest ones. So limit 10. And that has everything that we put in there. But these are the number of seconds and milliseconds. Okay. Next, we want a unique titles that contain tracks that cost $1.99. Okay, that's going to be track and unit price. Let's take a look at the table just to be sure. track unit prices in there, so that's what we want. And if we want unique titles, it's in there. Set titles and album. So we need to join album and track with each other, and the foreign key that we can use is album ID, it looks like. New titles. Let's see, new titles. What thing title? Join one album. Want using album ID, and we want where unit, yes, unit price equals 0.99. So that's all of them. I want to know how many there are. You can just do a count formula. 12. Okay. You want to list it out, take out the count formula. List CV titles. Okay, so there they are. And that's all the tracks. Okay. The next one is what genre has the longest track? And so that's using the track in milliseconds. But we want to use the track table has the length of the track, but it just has a numeric value for genre. And so if we want the name of the genre, we need to use a variable genre. And so let's do select genre name. Oh, I guess I can. So we have the table dot name. You have a dot in somewhere that means what's left of that is a table, what's to the right is a variable with it. Track join genre using genre ID. Now, when I did this, I could say join genre on, and then I could say track genre ID, track genre ID equals genre genre ID, and this will do the same thing. And then I'm going to do order by milliseconds. Descending. If I want the longest one, I might do something like limit 5. Look at the top 5, just in case there's a tie. And so I can make a decision about breaking a tie if I need to. So here are the top 5. It makes it really easy to figure out which one is the top one. So the longest one's going to come from that. You know, maybe I want to have, instead of calling it name, let's call it as genre. Genre in the millisecond time. Which genre has the longest track? It's going to be TV shows. Display the artist name, album length, length of the track in seconds order by length, descending order from the longest 10 tracks. So it looks like I'm going to need artist name, album title. So it looks like we are going to need the album table. and we're going to need track. And we're going to need artist. And so artist ID is going to be an album and artist. And then I'm going to join album to track using album ID. Okay. Artist name, title, milliseconds from, I'm going to take that from album. We're going to join artist on album dot artist ID. Well, artist dot artist ID. That's one way to join. We can also do a join track using album ID. If the foreign key has the same name, it's easy to just use the using. It's fewer keystrokes. Sometimes when you have the foreign keys to into different tables can have different column names. That's where the on really shines. It doesn't really matter what the foreign keys are as long as the value are the same as what it matches. Okay, we're gonna do this order by the amount of time, milliseconds, descending, and let's look at limit 10. And there we go. There's the answer for that one. It's 10 tracks. Aggregate all the customer spending by state in the US of A. And so I think we're going to be using the invoice table. Invoice has the quantity. And then invoice has the total, which is not spent. Customer ID matches with the customer table. And the customer table has the country, state, and we also need, or the country and the state, which are the two variables that we need, at least for answering the question we have in here. Okay, so we want the two columns we want is the state, the total amount that is spent. Select state. If you have the same column name in multiple tables, and then you'll want to put something like customer dot state. If that column only shows up in one table but not any others, then it's redundant. I mean, you don't really need it. It'll figure it out for you already. The customer state, and we want to add up everything from the invoice. Let's call that total spending from customer join those two. Customer ID. And one of the criteria we have is where country equals USA. We want to group by state, and we want to order by spending. It's so big. I guess like that. How we order it, as long as you can find things. Okay, so I've got a syntax error in here. Let's try it. Thanks. Try to debug this. State sum total as total spending for customer. So I'm gonna try to debug this. I'm gonna cut this. I'll run it. Oh, what? We can join that. Oh, I misspelled group. So if I read the notes, That might be more useful. Okay. There we go. And then maybe instead of order by total spending, order by state. I'm trying to find a specific state. Now use what makes most sense to you. Arizona, California. So that's the very last question that we have. I hope this was useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.